And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is Kayfabe Corner. I'm your host, JPO Jordan Pierce Owens, where I sit down with somebody in the wrestling scene. Today, not a pro wrestler, but a great buddy of mine, manager, booker, lovely human being, Josh Johnson. Josh, how are you?
Hey there, hi there, ho there. I'm as welcome as I can be with the great Jordan Owens. I'm doing really great, man. Just trying to keep my head above water with everything that's going on in the current climate of the world.
I know this sounds weird, but I love when you say my name. It brings me back to good memories of doing commentary, and I love when you shoot back to me and say my name. It's a weird but a lovely thing.
I know, right? We don't get to see each other and work with each other as much as we used to and everything like that, but you know, I've had a very interesting journey in 7 years of professional wrestling, and like you pretty much pointed out, beyond actually physically wrestling a match, kind of.
I mean, you are the AMP hardcore champion.
24/7 champion. I had that bad boy 4 times.
Yeah.
I had the SXPW Battle Royal Championship once. Yeah, then I dropped that one. And then Brawl USA social media champion for, I'm pretty sure, almost 2 years now. And Fast Pass Rumble winner.
There you go. Never forget.
2020. Brawl USA 2020 Fast Pass Rumble winner. Didn't even enter the match.
Recent winner, too. All right.
Yeah. Very interesting story. You know how professional wrestling is. Certain bedfellows you make and certain contracts you sign equal certain opportunities that you can have. And I get to choose representation in Brawl USA in a match. So I chose a recent guest of yours, a wonderful man by the name of Torture, to represent me in my matches. He won me the briefcase, but didn't win me the title and got my head shaved. I know Brawl USA's got footage of that somewhere, and from their last show. It was really entertaining, a lot of fun. You know, I got a cool briefcase out of it.
There you go. And hey, the hair came back pretty nicely, it looks like.
Yeah, you know, got to grow it in that nice Princess Tiara crown that I'm known for.
So always lately now we got to open up with the current climate. How are you just physically doing right now? When's the last time you've been to a show?
IPW Hardcore, when they had their Turnbuckle King show. I got to go and do ring announcing for that one. My last show before that was New Heights Pro Wrestling. I've got a lot of fun stuff I'm doing there that I can't really fully disclose about, but a lot of cool stuff going on there, just waiting for kind of things to go normal before we can kick that all back up and stuff, like any other company and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, let's start off now with the origin of Josh Johnson, if we will, here. If that's your real name, which we'll find out. I don't know.
Believe it or not, it is actually my real name, my legit shoot name. I won't tell you my full shoot name, but pretty much Josh Johnson is the crux of it. So my wrestling journey starts like any other fan. For me, just like watching professional wrestling.
Yeah.
1985 when I was born, when we would go to my grandmother's house, they would sit me with my uncle, and my uncle loved pro wrestling. So that's what we watched. And then the first real cognitive memory is WrestleMania 3. Constantly renting that VHS tape of Hogan and Andre. I'd rent the other ones too, but mostly Hogan and Andre. I'm an Andre the Giant fan, was never into Hulkamania. Like, pretty much anybody Hogan went against, I was rooting for the other guy, whether it be Andre, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior. I never got on the Hulk Hogan bandwagon until he joined Hollywood Hulk Hogan and NWO and all that. Because then it was cool because he was the bad guy and stuff like that. And then, you know, he's Hulk Hogan. And, you know, you either love him or you hate him. But, yes.
I was gonna say, you mentioned Andre. Was that your number one guy? Who was the number one person that really drew you?
Andre would probably be the first guy to like give me that attraction of like, oh my God, there's Andre the Giant, and then obviously bipartisan, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and then after that I would have to say $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Ultimate Warrior. Like it's just this weird cognitive run because it, like I said, it was such a part of early age for me that it just became, those were the personalities and just all the other personalities, Demolition, the Rockers, you know, a lot of guys from that time period that was just like, oh my God, these are amazing people, like, you know.
So finally, you're a fan obviously pretty much from day one, it sounds like.
Yeah.
How and why do you get into the business?
That's a really interesting story. So when I was in high school, there was obviously independent wrestling and stuff like that. I had gone to a school and tried to see if it was something for me. While I was in love with it, my parents thought that it wasn't really well on their paycheck, and
Where
definitely
are you at
something.
this one, by the way, location-wise?
I'm in Massachusetts. I'm probably around 13, 14 years old, I want to say, maybe a little bit older. I'm not training or anything like that, but I learned setting up the ring and stuff like that. I did like 2, 3 shows of doing that. Did a security guard thing and yelled at a fan. Got into a huge argument with one of the fans. My father had heard about it. Some of the, and the wrestler who had recommended me for the, to try to learn and stuff had heard about it. And it was just one of those, instead of, learning, my parents, like I said, they didn't want to pay the money. They thought it was going to be a hassle. They didn't want to hear, stupid shit. So they just told me, nope, that's it. And that was it. Legit. That was it. I never had the inkling to go back or anything like that. Then 7 years ago, I get a message from Brawl USA, the owner. I've done numerous things in my life before that. So like I've worked independent music. I put out a mixtape of, I didn't rap or anything like that, but I would help promote. I would help sell merchandise. I had, anybody who sees me, I have like 2 A's on my arm. That's for Anti-Authority Records, a company I used to work for. Dirty White Boys, Delusional, my boy Dirty Spot, Kino. I helped them. I got to be in the Gathering of the Juggalos. One of my big role models in life was a guy by the name of Jump Steady. And anybody who knows about Juggalo culture, he was Evil Dead in JCW. He's Violent J's brother. And I loved his music. I loved his mindset about just life and stuff like that. And I wound up getting to be his hype man at the 2006 Gathering of the Juggalos. There's, once again, footage out there of this stuff. So I just did the music stuff. I enjoyed doing that. I liked entertaining. And then me and a couple other buddies, after I left there, I tried starting our own little thing. And that's when I did a free comic book day after I kind of, like everybody, like I really loved wrestling. Then I kind of fell out for a few years and then got really back into it after seeing a lot of the different stuff on the independent scene and all the different people doing so many amazing things. And I got a Leva Bates 3 Faces of Fear shirt where she was doing the Joker, Bane, and I think Scarecrow down in Shine. Because she does the cosplay thing. And I had worn her shirt for a free comic book day. And it pops up every year of that photo and stuff. And in the small town that I live in, there is a small independent promotion called Brawl USA. They were just starting. They were just going to go and put on their first show July 13th of 2013. And being the wrestling nerd that I was and seeing this and knowing how the business was, because obviously I still when I got into being back, like it was a different world of professional wrestling fandom than when I huge help in this because so I I was the only guy.
All
So
right, we're back.
yeah, some minor technical difficulties. I tend to ramble and cause corruption and chaos everywhere I go. But anyway, so nevertheless, Brawl USA hit me up, very first show, and I just set up the ring. I was literally the first person there. It was me, the man who owned the ring, and I think he brought like his little nephew or something like that. And I was the only guy on the ring crew. Me and this old guy started setting it up. Then Josh Masters wound up showing up and seeing, this kid that he's never met before in his entire life setting up a wrestling ring. You know how it is. You kind of get curious. You go over and you talk. So he had given me the Iggy of, make sure you shake everybody's hand and stuff like that and thank them, which I kind of already knew from, past experiences and just being in love with professional wrestling. And you know how it is. If you watch hundreds and hundreds of hours of shoot interviews, ranging from independents all the way up to WWE's product. You get a lot of information in this day and age. Let's be real. There's the in the ring stuff with like Chris Hero, Al Snow, you know, like seminars that you can basically watch for free and stuff. And just through little things like that, I kind of knew it, but really appreciated a guy like him giving me that kind of advice. And so then by the end of that show, I had gotten into the ear of Simon Says as well. Once again, he had talked to me about it, like, why did you just set up and tear down a wrestling ring, and you've never gone to school, we don't know you, like, why did you do it? I've always wanted to do it. Like, I knew how hard it is. I knew, you know, how independent wrestling works. I know it's not this $1 million crew that's going to tear up and set down every show. So I have no problem doing that. If it's just even doing that little bit, at least I did that little bit to help a wrestling show. So Says then offered me, if you're serious, he hit me up like the next day, like, you know, hey, if you're kind of serious about this, I run my own show called Vintage Pro Wrestling. Come down as a fan, just watch the show, and, you know, just tell me what you think of my product. Okay, cool. You know, free wrestling show. Can't go wrong with that. So me and my wife planned it for the next show that they had. We wound up going down there. And then at the end of the show, you know, first thing you get there, you know, went to Says, thank you very much for having us, because we were his guest and everything like that. He's sitting there with Francisco Chiazzo when they were the Circle of Disrespect. And he introduced me to Frankie, introduced me to a couple of the guys that are around there, just as a, you know, these are the guys that I'm working with. Once again, didn't think anything of it, but by the end of the night, the ring that they used was the same ring from Brawl. And the same old man who was dying of cancer was the only guy on the ring crew. So I couldn't allow, like, just in good conscience, couldn't allow that. So I wound up going to Says and be like, hey, this is the only guy on your ring crew. Do you mind if I go help him tear down and everything like that? And of course, free labor. So yes, go and tear down the ring. So at the end of the show and all the tear down and stuff, make sure everything was clean. I went to his then girlfriend, was like, once again, knowing the respect I had for wrestling, I was like, I'm not just going to barge into the locker room of like, hey guys, I'm done doing what, you know. I went and told her, hey, if you wouldn't mind telling Says, I'm done with the ring. If you wouldn't, you know, I just want to say bye and thank you for everything. It was a blast. So as soon as she went in, and then you're like, oh, you can go right in. As soon as I walked in, it was a few of the guys still left over who were a lot of the top guys of Vintage Pro Wrestling. I don't want to like drop names and shit like that, because of this next bit, like, they start clapping for me and thank me for tearing down the ring. Which to me, like, I'm in my, like, I just sat down for like 2 hours while y'all just murdered yourselves in the ring. No, thank you for providing me with the show. That's the least I can do. So then the next day, Says hit me up and was like, you know, if you really just want to do this shit, show up to my show. Keep your, you know, the basic rules of pro wrestling, keep your ears and eyes open and keep your mouth shut. If you learn something, you learn something. And then I showed up. Every single Vintage wrestling show, anything they needed, I would do. Street Team Saint, and then Brawl USA was also simultaneously running. So I would do the 2 shows between here and Kissimmee, Orlando, just as a, hey, I'm getting out of the house, something to do, something I've always wanted to do. I never had, like, I've always had the, like everybody else, I want to get in, but I knew I couldn't be a wrestler. I never had the money and stuff like that. But I saw this as my opportunity to learn at least something. So never in my wildest dreams did I think it would have gotten to where it is. So I just kept showing up, setting up the ring, learning anything I could. They introduced me to their video production guy, a guy by the name of Paul Stewart, which was a life-saving thing for me, because he started teaching me how to run cameras and learning little nuances of video editing and stuff like that. And I had learned a little bit of it on my own doing music stuff. So it just became even more natural to adapt to the pro wrestling world and really just help. And that's all I did, was just help, like sitting in the back holding a light, sitting in the back holding a camera, just sitting and just absorbing as much as I could. And then eventually Puerto Rican Hound Dog hit me up to be like, hey, I'm starting my own little thing, doing my own thing here. I see you do the video work for Brawl. Would you mind doing mine? That doesn't seem like a bad thing. And then literally that's one door opens, and that's all it took. So everybody taught me stuff here and there. Everybody, you know, I've never gone to an actual school. And I highly recommend everybody go to an actual school, because you will not get that kind of experience that I've had, because I'm an idiot who decided, throw caution to the wind, I'm just going to keep showing up, tear up a ring, tear it down, set up curtains, sell popcorn, whatever it needed to be, just do it, because somebody had to do it. And what was the worst that it did for me? I got to see a free wrestling show, but it evolved into, I have hard work, I have dedication, and it turned into this.
No, I love it, man. I'm always interested in guys like our stories because it's not the traditional path. If you want to be a wrestler, there's kind of A, B, and C of doing it. But like we
Yes.
always got to find these way around. My story is kind of similar to yours, so it's always very very interesting to see here. Was it ever in the back of your mind at any point in the last several years to train a little bit and get a match in? Does that ever come across your mind?
So it has crossed my mind a little bit. I have, like I said, I've learned things here and there from guys. Look, I'm not trained enough to have like a full match or anything like that, but you need a referee, I can do some referee stuff, which I do for Kaiju Big Battle. And you know how Kaiju Big Battle can be. I don't want to give away all their secrets and stuff like that, but I'm friends with some of the monsters, let's say. So I've gotten to do a little bit with that for a very short spot. Like, I don't really want to kill what they have going on, because I love what they do over there for Kaiju Big Battle, and it's one of the places I now work. So I don't want to kill that illusion for people, even though this is kayfabe. Keep that kayfabe alive a little bit there. So yeah. So I've done stuff. It was literally very short. Like, I've taken some moves and stuff like that, but as far as having a full-on match, nah, it's not for me. Like, if the possibility for, never say never, because this is professional wrestling, and let's say another 3 years down the line the opportunity presents itself, I might be in a different headspace of like, okay, fuck it, let's do it. But as of right now, no, it's, let the people who are good at it do what they're good at. I know what I'm good at. I'm going to do what I'm good at.
Now, as you can see right behind you is a photo of you and more of the funhouse gimmick. Tell me
Yes.
first of this is the transition of becoming more of a character, of not ring announcing but managing. When does managing start coming in? Who are you at first, and who have you transitioned into since then?
Uh, all right. So as you know, I've kind of always been a character. I've never not been a character, even as a ring announcer and stuff like that. Like, especially with AMP, they really let me be just a character. Because to me, like, guys like Mean Gene Okerlund, Gorilla Monsoon, who I didn't know growing up was actually an old pro wrestler, because you're 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't think the guy doing commentary was at once a wrestler, until they actually show you footage. Bobby the Brain Heating. Like, to me, professional wrestling, I very much got that everybody was kind of a character, and if you play yourself right, you know, everybody has their role. So if I'm a ring announcer, I'm not going to act like that picture back there. If I'm the commentator, I'm not going to act like the way I would as a ring announcer. Every role has its unique way, but at the overall grand scheme of things, I am a character in pro wrestling, because you see me do so many different hats and stuff like that on camera. CW's weekly shows with Roughhouse Ralph Mosca was running the book. So Ralph Mosca was running the books, and it was ACW. So everybody knows Kyle Kidman, the Kid, is ACW's primary ring announcer. He was for a very long time, especially in that time period. So he was going to get transitioned back to being the ring announcer for the weekly shows, because originally it was in a bar. He couldn't really, be there being underage. So he had hit the age where he could be in there and stuff like that. So they were going to move him to being the ring announcer. And I had heard an idea from Simon Says for another character that they were doing in Vintage, and Vintage had not been running for a little while. So I kind of took that idea and repurposed it for myself, which is Simon Says loves The Office. He got me into The Office. So the character of Dwight Schrute is the assistant to the regional manager. So he's not technically have any power. It's just in his mind, he's the assistant regional manager, not the assistant to the. So I kind of took that as we could do this. Ralph is the general manager. I'll be the assistant to the general manager, because Ralph is going to sit there. He's going to drink. He's going to do what Ralph does. And then I can go do, like, if we need a guy to go run out there and make this a match, I can go make it a match, this, that, and the other. So we started that. And I eventually, like, because I was switching from being the ring announcer to now a really on-screen personality, I had the idea of, if I'm Ralph's assistant, I'm a lonely little nerd who's the ring announcer who likes comic books, movies, video games, action figures, and stuff. Ralph is known for drinking, swearing, beating people up. Um, how would he handle something like that? So he basically started bullying me a little bit. He made me dress like him because Ralph doesn't like suits. So I used to wear his roughhouse jersey and his hat. He'd make me drink a little and stuff like that. So eventually it got to a point where they decided that they were going to kind of put me and Kyle in this little feud thing, because once again, we were both the ring announcers, but neither one, like, I didn't, like, after they had moved me to away from ring announcer, I didn't want to go back to ring announcer, because I'm like, I just invested all this time doing one thing, you know. So they kind of came up with the idea of, well, what we'll do is we'll have a contest, an actual contest between you and Kyle, and the fans vote at the end. One of you becomes a permanent ring announcer, one of you becomes a permanent general manager. So it was this weird thing of, like, reality and pro wrestling. You know how it is sometimes, like, our job as performers was now in the hands of the fans. So what could have been simple 5-10 minute promo, you know, 3-minute 5-minute promos turned into 20-minute things. And basically me and Kyle just legitimately going at each other. We had a talk beforehand of, like, what was okay and not okay. Pretty much everything was on the table except for personal family beyond his father, who owns ACW, which is not a secret to anybody. So that was my goal. You know, that's the only point I really had to hit. You're the son of the owner. This job is obviously yours. So I'm just going to have as much fun as I physically can till the decision happens, because your father was never really going to pick you, and I'm going to lose either way. So I started, I made Ralph a jersey and I made myself a jersey. Ralph, thank you for everything you've ever done for me. Here's your very own brand new Roughhouse Ralph Mosca jersey, because you deserve it as the man who's done so much for me. But I also got myself one, and I started calling myself the Funhouse. One of the things I did is, I'm a huge Triple H mark. It's obvious. I started coming out to Ace of Spades by Motorhead, because cut in a promo too. It was like, I've always wanted to come out to Motorhead. Triple H does it. Why can't I? So if I can never do this ever again, at least I got that. And the crowd voted, and they wanted me as the general manager. And then they always knew they were going to phase out the general manager thing. So Ralph and me started talking about me managing Ralph as a murderous pig. And that conversation, after Ralph did one match as the pig, he fought the late, great Alex Perry, 12 inches large himself. Footage is still out there somewhere. I don't know if I own it or it's online, but everybody went to WrestleMania weekend, and Ralph decided, this is the week I'm going to be the butcher. And he went out there, and we played it off as I was the guy controlling him under the mask. Like, he went out there, he did his work. I held on to his pig mask, and then I gave it to him afterwards, after he defeated Alex and stuff like that, as the little seed planted of what I was going to become and who I was going to manage. So a good friend of ours, BJ, he wound up coming around ACW as well, and he wanted work. So Ralph shot him the idea of doing it as a tag team. So that started getting tossed around. Now, by this point in time, I had already quit being the ACW general manager after his birthday party had gone wrong, because now was going the setup from me going from general manager to me acquiring another lifelong dream of at least managing a match. I always thought I would be a great manager, you know, not like the best, not a Bobby the Brain Heenan or Paul Heyman, but at least decent enough where I could entertain a crowd. So that's where this kind of comes from, is I started calling myself the Funhouse. We got BJ as one of the pigs. Ralph decided he didn't want to be a pig anymore. So Taino was looking to do something. I had hit him up because me and him had gone way back. It's not the best spot. I get it's not something you envisioned, but at least it gets you doing something each and every week wrestling. And then one other key component to it all was Chuckles the Clown started wrestling. He came to ACW the first time, and people weren't really into it because he was a clown. And then I seen him work elsewhere, and then seen him work ACW once, and it was like, he's a freaking clown. We're gonna do this. I want to work with him at least once. Like, I'm gonna, you know, I think he would make a great addition to me and the Pigs. It was the only guy that I had really shot as, like, outside of somebody at Ralph and had talked to. So, is that weird thing of like, I wanted to work with a friend, and Chuckles was a friend of mine at the time. Pretty much all the guys were. So it was just me getting to work with a few of my buddies, and then it got turned into and I and after I would pitch things, the person who was running the book at the time would, kept shooting down my ideas and stuff. So it became, not a fun place for me to be. Around the same time my kid was going to be born, so I kind of phased out of working those weekly ACW shows, and I had been working a few other places. And then in that time period, I wound up talking to Tweedledee, and he was like, "Hey, I work at this place called New Heights Wrestling. Would you like to come do the ringmaster gimmick with me?" Which a lot of that ringmaster idea came from BJ. My original idea was I got this night the striped shoot that everybody kind of sees me in, that inevitably became part of the Funhouse ensemble. That was my original idea. I had like a demented manager kind of thing, like business manager idea. And he kind of shot it to me of like, look, you got a clown and two murderous pigs. We're calling ourselves the Funhouse. You really should lean into the ringmaster kind of role. And that's where the ringmaster of fun kind of came from. And, found the top hat, found the red coat, everything kind of came together. He recommended the first cane I got was a wolf head. I had two different wolf's head canes because I was the big bad wolf to the little pigs, because we would come out to Green Jelly's little pigs and stuff. And then I wound up taking that and, all right, I'll be the big bad wolf, but the big bad, kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of you have to go through all these, like, I'm the ultimate evil mastermind pulling the strings, and these are my minions, so that, I'm the ultimate bad, and this is why, because I can corrupt. So, which is kind of kept with the motif and stuff. And then after seeing some other things, and just adding to little, adding and adding things that I thought would be unique or I wanted to do. And, it's inevitably led to, like I said, where I am today. It's that weirdness of, I've been doing this 7 years as of yesterday, from the very first Brawl show, from just setting up a ring, and never stepping foot for really in a wrestling school to learn anything beyond a cup of coffee of learning how to set up a ring, to, like we've already discussed, I've held championships, I've managed,
for one of them.
yeah, so, and it still sits in my closet to this day, so, because it was the last ever one. But yeah, like, it's one of those things I always tell people, go for what you believe in. If you really want to fight and work hard for something, your hard work does eventually show. It just might not seem like it in the moment, but like when you get to a moment like this where everybody has to kind of sit down and reflect, I've had nothing but time to reflect, and it's one of those, I've had a very blessed career that most like, look, I'll never get to WWE, I'll never get to Impact or AEW in my mind. Like, I would love to, don't get me wrong, I would love to work for those places, but I don't see myself there. I see myself forever being in the indies and helping guys get to those levels and stuff like that. By just little things of like, hey, I've got a camera, let's shoot a promo. Hey, I've got cameras, let's get your matches online. Hey, let me manage you so that I'm doing something, but you're getting matches, because the booker wants to use me, but they're going to use you because I can't work, So you're the guy who gets the ultimate rub off of everything if I do my job right, as the manager, as most people would tell you.
Any other missed opportunities or gimmicks that maybe you or someone had, or the ball started to roll and it fell off? Anything else come to mind maybe?
Oh shoot. The only one that I can disclose about is there was been many plans for me to do nothing. Like that setup, I got nothing, really. No, nothing. Believe it or not, any ideas I've ever had and I've shot to people and stuff, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, I very much understand that I'm not the guy who was ever really supposed to be pitching ideas. So, and it's inevitably whose sandbox are you playing in? I'm not the guy paying the wrestlers. I'm not the guy, at times booking the talent. Sometimes I'm just talent on the show, whether it be ring announcing, commentary, managing, or whatever it may be. I'm just there to help make the product better. So I've never really seen too many missed opportunities. Like, it's wrestling. You can't really get hung up on them because you create your opportunities. Like when I felt like I wasn't having opportunities at ACW, I wound up going to New Heights Wrestling and finding numerous opportunities there that I've absolutely loved. I've been able to do creative things there that I don't think I would have been able to do anywhere else.
What are some of the favorite things that you've been there live for? Either both you personally, like part of the funhouse or something, or just that you've witnessed live? Like, what's some great matches or moments that you've witnessed or been a part of?
All right, first one right off the bat was I Wrestle Brawl 6, getting to see Cez win the title. I was backstage. I played the music for the whole show and did an interview with Cez, which was my first ever interview ever. So, like, if you see that footage, I'm nervous as all living hell and shit like that at the time. No, I think maybe the third interview or something like that. But that was just a very emotional moment, getting to see one of your close friends, achieve a dream. Because once again, winning a title in any indie promotion is winning a title anywhere, at least in my mind, because it's the person who holds the title and the respect that they carry. Look, you're representing a company. It might not be the biggest company, but every company is different. Every company does their own thing. Everybody draws their own business and stuff. And so it is a big deal, as you can contest. Like, I'm pretty sure you've seen friends win titles in situations. May not have been the biggest company, but it was still an emotional moment because it's still a big moment for that person. So that was a very emotional night. Beyond that, starting the Funhouse was a big night for me. Managing Tweedle's last ever match was a big deal because he's done a lot of things in his career. And if you ever interview him on here, I would love to watch that one. Because you've actually interviewed quite a few guys that I've managed at one point. Hound Dog was a guy that I managed. Torture is a guy that I've managed. Bobby Fonta is a guy that I've managed. So I've gotten to work with a lot of great talents over my time. Another big moment would be my very first Kaiju Big Battle show, because that was one of those things of, I started watching Kaiju Big Battle as a fan, and before I ever kind of even got into wrestling, just started watching it as like, oh, this is really cool. I really like this. And to now sit here and be able to work with them to the degree that I have is just complete. Like, to me, that's my working with WWE kind of thing of like, I never thought that dream would have been possible, but I was supposed to be a part of WrestleMania week in both of those shows and stuff like that. But unfortunately, due to everything, it would have been awesome to work Mania weekend, because the first show I did was a Mania weekend. I wound up telling Trevin Adams, like, look, I get that I probably won't work ACW. I know I'm not working Evolve or FIP or anything, but if I do anything that weekend, can you please allow me to work Kaiju Big Battle so I can kind of check that off my list? And then after they met me, they were like, you can come back anytime we're in the South. So I kind of became one of the permanent fixtures of the Kaiju Southern Division. So that is a big thing, like working MetroCon last year. Humongous crowd, like literally one of the largest crowds I have ever worked in front of. Like, not just like do it like, because I got to be a referee and do some of the, be friends with some of the Kaiju monsters and stuff like that. That was a huge one for me. Yeah. I think Zach Romero recently talked about it too, because it was a big moment for him because he got to call the whole Kaiju show by himself. So, one of those weird little things, moments you get to share with friends.
Who are you a big fan of? Like, whose work inspires you, both as from a manager's perspective or just in ring? Like, who do you think is kind of the unsung heroes here in Florida?
Oh, in the state of Florida? To me,
or above, whatever.
Now, are we talking about guys that are still physically wrestling today? Because, like, to me, first off, Simon Says.
Let's talk over time, man. No, throw some shout-outs there.
All right, so let's throw them out there. Simon Says, first off, anytime he gets on a microphone, anytime he's involved with a wrestling show, I know he isn't really a part of it anymore. He's the guy, he's my mentor. So, obviously, I still highly look up to his work and everything he does and stuff like that. Francisco Chiazzo, obviously, the measuring stick. Eddie Torres, Bruce Santee. Those are kind of the mainstay guys. Damien Angel, Biff Slater, when I was getting to hang around with him, he was still rocking it. Bobby Fonta's still doing good. and some other guys like Dante Marquise Carter, DMC, and his tag team partner, Mikey Spandex, Task Force. Great team. There's a couple guys up in New Heights Wrestling that are really amazing. Suicidal Soldier, Waylon Barley, Shane Gibson, AJ Strokes, Michael Faison. I'm going to like list off their whole fucking roster pretty much. A couple guys really stand out for me of like fresh up and comers if they really stick to it. Kid by the name of Sanson. He's doing he's always constantly, even though we're in kind of like this weirdness of not everybody's really able to train, he's still hitting the gym. He's got like his own home thing going and stuff. New guy that they kind of have, he kind of went through a little rebrand. He's with a Nameless Ghoul or something like that. His name's Frederick Yeager. He was once known as Moondog. He was kind of doing like Moondog spots, gimmicks and stuff, but he switched to being Frederick Yeager thanks to some influence by his new manager and stuff. As far as managers and stuff like that, like, first, there's a certain group of kids that I gotta always mention. The Jay Lethal's kids from the first class and stuff, and some of the other classes too, but like Snoop Strikes, Kodo Brazil, fucking amazing talent. Troy Hollywood, Stephen Frick, Aria Blake, Aspen Rose, seeing where those kids started, Hunter Law, Ronnie Rios, I'm probably forgetting one of them, a couple of them I know. Alex Perry.
Okay.
I believe that was their first class. I got to see them. I believe me and you actually called their first match.
Yeah, I always say, yeah, I was there literally on day one.
On day one. And to see where those kids have come, like, nothing but pride on, just even like as it is that little hand of helping them get to be seen from the other side, because it was because of us recording some of those shows that, like, because I was doing video production for that Uproar show that, was their first ever show. So that's why footage of that exists. Another big highlight is I got to call I forget what they're called now, but Devon's boys, Terrence and Terrell. I got to call their first ever tag team championship women at Conquer Pro Wrestling. Like, they never won tag team titles in any other promotion because they were still relatively starting out because of how kept they were, and I got to call their first tag team win at Conquer, and that was another amazing thing. But yeah, because they're amazing fucking talents, want to talk with them. Chuckles the Clown, obviously another amazing talent, seeing all the great things he's done. I can literally list off a bunch of those, and probably gotten off track here on what I was saying. And managers. Justin Michaels is always a constant source of inspiration. I love that guy. You do some amazing work when you are doing your managerial stuff. But as far as the big ones, obviously, Bobby the Brain Heenan is a big influence on me. Classy Freddie Blassie, he doesn't really get enough recognition, I don't think, in our modern era. But if you go back and watch some of his shit, he's fucking amazing. And sorry for all the cursing and shit, but I'm all right. I'm comfortable, I tend to curse a lot more when I'm comfortable, but when I'm, doing wrestling stuff, I figured this is more of a shoot kind of thing. But
whatever the fuck you want, it's all good.
Paul Bearer, Father James Mitchell, I've gotten to talk to him at least once in life, and that was an amazing conversation that I will forever remember, because I just got to pick the brain a little bit, and there is so many nuggets that came from that. Grand Wizard of Wrestling, he was really interesting. Those are the ones that I would probably say, and if I hadn't said Paul Bearer, him as well. Those are the kind of the guy. Oh, and Paul Heyman. How can I forget the greatest of all time? Paul Heyman, obviously, is one of the top influences. I mean, I cut 20-minute promos for a reason because I'm a fan of Triple H.
This is where you can find me wearing a baseball cap for a while, which is me trying to be him. So I understand.
Yeah, like, if you're a manager, if you're not, like, to me, the big ones, if you're doing managing things and you haven't watched Paul Heyman, Paul Bearer, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Classy Freddie Blassie, like, those are the ones that I will shout out the biggest. I know Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart is amazing. Jim Cornette is amazing to a degree because, it's Cornette. But there are other guys like the Jackal, the little stuff that he did. There have been a lot of different people that I've kind of seen and do things that, you never know what little idea might rub off on you, just try to always keep an open mind, watch everybody's stuff, because somebody might do something that you don't fully get at that moment, but down the line, you'll understand why they did it.
What are some of the favorite promotions you've been a part of over the last several years?
Every single one of them I've worked for, legit. Because it's one of those. How can I not be a fan of you if you're using me? You know. So Brawl USA, obviously, Vintage Wrestling was a big one. Kaiju Big Battle, New Heights Wrestling, ACW Wrestling, Go Wrestle when I worked there. Even though I don't work there anymore, and it is what it is kind of thing, I still follow the product a little bit. See some of the guys that are coming out of there. Amazing fucking dudes. The young professor, that dude is freaking amazing. Like, if you actually get to sit down, talk to him, learn, he knows what he's doing out there. He's a really good cat. But yeah, like, it's one of those things because of the way my life is, and you know how it is I never thought, like, I always joked about this of when you first get in and you hear the older guys who've been doing this for a while tell you, like, I really don't watch wrestling anymore. And you're like, how can you not watch wrestling? It's what you do. It's because of that, because you're so involved with it, and you're so, like, you're watching wrestling, but you're not watching wrestling, because, like, I'll watch periodic things just to keep up and, keep up to date with everything. But, like, if I'm going to watch something, I'm going to watch a documentary. I'm going to watch an old match where the manager's doing something that I might see something interesting. Or even, like, I just wound up watching a lot of Chikara's BDK stuff because I loved it. I loved that storyline and just wanted to kind of relive it a little bit, just for nostalgia's sake. I've got nothing but time on my hand to do stuff like that. So, yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Don't say with his mom. Don't say with his mom. Don't say with his mom. With your mom. No, I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years.
Treat her right, man. Just treat her right.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that. But no, I actually have no idea where I'll be in 5 years. Hopefully I'm still doing this. Hopefully I'm working with you somewhere, Hopefully I'm making a lot of money. I just kind of take the day as it comes because, I don't really talk about it a lot, but my mental health is one of those things I always have to keep in mind. So my big rules are, so long as I'm having fun or I'm making money, I'll be doing this. So yeah, that's where I see myself in 5 years. Hopefully having fun or making money.
Or both, man. The dream's both.
Yeah, the dream is essentially to combine the two where it doesn't feel like work and you're just making a crap ton of money. But I haven't gotten there yet. I got cool shrines like this that are self-absorbing and shit like that. But, this is my little office area where I sit and do my video editing. And
any good shout-outs or memories or moments from what's behind you?
Every single one of them. I've done, like, some of this stuff over here is from when I filmed Marching Band and Color Guard. It was a really good gig. It paid me well, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if I hadn't met Paul Stewart from Vintage Wrestling's videography and stuff. He saw that I could do actual video work. So he told somebody about me, and I started doing actual video work. One of these is from a bodybuilding competition I hosted. Like, a lot of the stuff I've done beyond, like, huh?
You didn't enter it?
No, I tried. They wouldn't let me. I did have a pose down Hogan style, though, just to try to pop the crowd.
He said he's too good. He'll win automatically. We can't have it.
I was in the suit, too, so just imagine. They actually paid me to keep the clothes on. But yeah, so, like, and then everything else is like MetroCon, Fusion Cons, pro wrestling shows I've worked, music stuff I've done. Just kind of that little memory of, because I, once again, being a Paul Heyman fan, he always had the backstage passes. He always had like 50 of them around his neck, from past shows for whatever reason. He just had 50, watch old school ECW from like the, like I want to say like 97, 98. Like, Paul was just wearing like 3, 4, 5 different badges at a time. So I was like, that's really cool to get backstage passes and to be able to do stuff like that. Now I sit with all my backstage passes behind me as a nice little memory of like, hey, you did something, you've done some things, like, not exactly where I would have ever pictured myself, but I'm happy I'm here. I mean, I'm a princess now. I mean, how can you not be happy being a princess?
Absolutely. Those are the truer words have never been spoken. Somebody comes up after you after a show and they say, hey, I really admire what you're doing. I would love to do what you do. What kind of advice do you give to somebody that's looking to try to get into like our field of stuff?
Go get trained. go to an actual training school. I always recommend Team 3D Academy, Devon Dudley School. If you change the name, I'm not aware of it as of current time, but that school's an amazing one. The WWN Training Center is an amazing one. The Lethal Academy is another great one. There are a few good ones here in the state of Florida that, if people are really serious about it and they really want to learn, I highly recommend going to those places, because some of those people were the people who trained me to do little things in life. Not like, yes, in life, but also in the life of pro wrestling, like just getting to work with a lot of those uproar kids and stuff like that, before they, on their very first show, most of them couldn't cut promos. Now they're cutting promos on fucking MLW and, all over the place. And, it's one of those, we were literally the first people to stick a camera in their face to be like, hey, just talk. Had we not given them opportunity with it, I just like to look at it as like, look, we're all in this to make the business better at the end of the day. Leave it how you would want to leave it. Like, if we make it a better place, then it'll be a better place for each and every one of us. I get sometimes we all don't get along and agree with each other at times. It's wrestling. Not everybody gets along, but if we all have that as a common goal.
You were very mad at me at Fusion Con one time. I think I stepped on a cable or something.
Yeah, I'm a hothead at shows.
Like, I didn't know where the cable was, man.
Yeah, no, a lot of people, I'll fully admit it, I get to be a hothead at times, because if you've ever seen a guy come back from the curtain, he's had a 10-minute match and it went to shits. There was botches everywhere and everything like that. They get pissed, right? But then they eventually have to blow it off, because they'll get another match and stuff. Now, for me, a lot of times I'm doing the entire video production, and if one little thing goes wrong in the show, or we have 5 things that go wrong in the show, that's going to affect me video producing later on. Like, if I'm missing footage from a camera, then how are you going to handle that? You got to fix it in editing. You're not going to be happy about it in the moment and stuff like that. I've been trying to work on that stuff a lot.
I think I've gotten I've admitted it. I've post apologized to some people where I'm like, I'm sorry, man, you caught me at the wrong time. Not that you could have known, just you caught me when I was in the middle of 40 things. You're paused. All right, and we're back. Any any plugs?
Hopefully we got this.
Wants to find Josh Johnson?
If anybody ever wants to find me, it's Princess Weird 17 on pretty much everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I mostly use Facebook and Instagram. I have a Twitter. I don't use it. I'm horrible with it. YouTube. I get around. I don't have a distinct channel. If you want to see my video production stuff, Cheap Pop Productions, some of the IPW stuff, the New Heights Wrestling stuff, those are my video production work a little bit there. Definitely New Heights Wrestling, a lot of my video production work in some of the recent shows. Some Brawl USA stuff as well, if you want to check out my stuff. I mean, nobody ever really, this is my first interview in 7 years. I've always been, like I said, auxiliary talent. I want to make sure everybody else gets their focus and the light shined on them before it's shined on me. Sometimes that is a little detrimental with some things you want to do, as you know. But that's why I think we do stuff like this. I'm fucking super proud of you, dude, for doing Kayfabe Corner and all the other shows you do, because, it just shows, for people like us, it's about entertaining fans. Yeah, we want to, make sure the crowd goes home happy and everything like that, but we realize we're not having the matches. But if we make sure the crowd stays entertained in whatever auxiliary role we're in, especially being a ring announcer, if you can keep a crowd somewhat entertained where they're not booing and, they're booing the right guys and not booing the ring announcer or booing the referee or whatever it may be, and you're keeping the flow of the show going and, keeping everybody invested, I did my job right, So yeah, Princess Weird 17. Follow me. I share my stuff. Yeah.
Any parting words of wisdom? Any other stories that you want to give before we head off here?
Parting words of wisdom of, if I can legit. If I can do this, it's almost like anybody can do this. And I don't mean just this. I mean following your dreams. Like, I got a 2-year-old daughter who's almost going to be 3. And here's one for you. Like, I'm pretty sure you're wondering why I call myself a princess now. I'm a grown man who calls himself a princess.
I should have asked it a long time ago. True.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder. I got the T-shirt available for sale, Princess of Weird, and it came from a joke originally, because you know how it is in wrestling. Wreck-It Ralph 2 wound up coming out, and they wound up releasing the Comfy Disney Princess T-shirts. So I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna buy a few of those because I like Disney, and you know I like the Disney princesses. So I wound up getting one of the shirts and wearing it to a show, and I got asked to be in a battle royal. And I was like, well, I can't do it. Like, I'll do it, but I want to do like a comedy spot, kind of like Drew Carey did in the Rumble and stuff like that. So I came up with the idea of, as soon as the bell rings, because it was battle royal, I slid out of the ring and told the referees I wasn't ready yet. I had to get in my princess best. So I pretty much stripped out of the whole ringmaster outfit to reveal the comfy Disney princess t-shirt, did my typical I've always wanted to do this Triple H water bit, got in the ring, and then immediately climbed out of the ring when I was threatened, and landed in the puddle of water that I just created, and then started yelling at everybody about what a hazard the water on the floor was. Tripping hazards. Got to be careful of that. They should have had a mop there. But anyway, after doing that little comedy thing, and having fun with it, I started thinking about it more. And you know how it is in wrestling, we got to brand ourselves. So I knew I was doing the ringmaster of fun, but I wanted something that was uniquely me. And then after that little bit in thinking of my daughter, I wanted to set an example for my daughter that you can literally see and play, 10 years, 20 years down the line, of what is the most absurd thing that I can do right now? Become a princess. Like, I already kind of planted that little bit of a seed, and I'm that type of guy. I've seen in wrestling, if you plant a seed here and then cash off over there, it'll work, because there's a little bit of a string to connect it, So I started doing this whole Weird Mageddon thing, and I've been big on Gravity Falls and Bill Cipher and stuff. This is where the whole I got my eye on you thing comes from. Because that inevitably became part of the gimmick of, not only was I a ringmaster, but I had magical powers because I was a possessed individual, theoretically, may not be, who knows? I mean, this is, Matt Hardy has is one vessel and has multiple personalities. Why can't I, right? But anyway, who knows? Who cares? But I really started thinking of it as, wow, I can literally use this as a platform to, one, get heat, two, teach my daughter a lesson that she might not get right now, but she'll get it in a few years. Or, it's one thing to say, hey, I always dreamed of being a professional wrestler, but it's another thing to be a grown adult male. And yet I love the LGBT community. I'm very supportive of them in any way I can be. And, because I'm not trying to trample on them calling myself a princess and stuff, but I very much feel we're in the age of 2020 and anybody can do anything. They can become anything they want. So I want to teach that to my daughter. I'm literally doing the impossible. I became a princess to the point where people recognize me and call me princess now. You call yourself it once and it catches, and other people catch it. It kind of took, like, I knew it would take on its life of its own because it's pro wrestling and that's usually what it does. But now I can sit there and show my daughter footage, and not just, and like, once again, it's become part of who I am to a degree of, even outside of wrestling, I'm still the Princess of Weird. I wound up co-hosting a couple of shows recently, Nerd Talk and Comic Book 101, which I'm no longer a part of because of, certain reasons that I don't want to get into. But even on their shows, they addressed me as the Princess of Weird and Princess, because that's just who I am. Because once again, when my daughter is, 15 years old, wondering what she can do in her life, she can then sit there and go, well, my dad became a princess. Like, he literally went, I want to be a princess one day. Got a tiara. I've got multiples now. And, I decided I wanted to become a princess. That's it. That's as simple as it is. Doing the impossible is fun. So I did the impossible. I've done it numerous times. So why not stop? Doing the ringmaster thing, people that start, like, how you start taking certain aspects of different characters and different people and rolling them into your gimmick and stuff like that. So for me, Walt Disney, Vince McMahon, and P.T. Barnum. I'm a ringmaster. I'm a guy running a show. I'm this over-the-top personality, and then starting to really get into Walt Disney and some of his actual philosophies and things that he actually put out there, like about his feelings on entertainment and life, you know, didn't necessarily agree with all of it, but some of that stuff, like that phrase, the doing the impossible is fun. You know, that kind of became my mantra of, you know, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to become a princess. My daughter will see, you know, people will hate it, people will like it. It doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, people will recognize me as that. And then my daughter, like I said, my daughter will be able to sit there and be, you know, if she wanted to become president, if she wanted to become a wrestler, if she wanted to do anything in the world, she wanted to become a rap star, she could do it. She wanted to become a rock star, she could do it. You know, she wanted to become a dietitian, she can do it. Whatever she wants to do, you know, and that's for anybody. Anything you want to do, if I can become a princess and if I can work in professional wrestling, there's nothing anybody in this world can't do if they don't, you know, work hard for it and really set their mind to it. Never give up, never give up, never surrender, as, you know, the great Jason Nesbitt would once say.
Oh, yes, yes.
We haven't even begun to scratch the surface on some things, sir. I mean, I feel like we could talk for hours. Mostly because I talk for hours.
We can have you back on here, man. We talk some more. If there's more to scratch, we can always scratch it.
Oh, yeah. I know you do multiple shows. I know you talk about movies. I know you talk about comic books and stuff. I'll gladly get on one of those things, too, and discuss some things. I mean, I've been on a Ghostbusters kick. So, yeah, and I got my daughter into Ghostbusters, because I always looked at parenting as it's a little mind you can shape and mold to be a better future and stuff like that. But it's also something that you can share your loves and passions with. So I got my little one into Ghostbusters. She absolutely loves it. I'm building a Ghostbusters cosplay right now just because I can. Yeah, I got my proton pack, PKE meter. I just got my ecto goggles in today. I got a ghost trap. All I need to do is full on jumpsuit it up, or I'm going to do kind of two different outfits. I'm going to do a jumpsuit, like the traditional style, and then I'm going to do one more my style of shorts and short sleeve shirts, because I don't like wearing long. I wear suits most of the time, but I hate it. I like it, you know, but I looked at it as like this. I crossed my timeline recently. In a world of men full of men wrestling in their underwear, be the guy in the suit. Yeah, you instantly stand out because you're the guy in the suit and not half naked.
Or wear a tiara, whatever fits you.
Exactly, you know. Dream the dream.
Well, Princess, it was truly a pleasure, as I knew it would be, man. Appreciate having you on here.
Thank you very much, man. Once again, I really appreciate it. Like, 7 years is the first guy who ever asked, so I could not object. Like I said, I actually wrote down all the stuff I did. It literally read like a list of like, why did anybody ever let you do that? I was the right guy at the right time, I guess, you know.
Now you were the right guy. You put in the work, man. You were a good dude. You were good at it. So why not? Of course you did those things.
That means a lot coming from you, Jordan. I mean, you're a guy who's been kind of in the similar boat as me, so you know, our journeys aren't the easiest, but they can be the most fun.
Absolutely, 100% with you there, my man. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Funhouse's Josh Johnson, the Princess of Weird. This was your boy, JPO, Jordan Pierce Owens. Thank you for checking out Kayfabe Corner, whether it was YouTube, Spotify, all that other fun stuff. And as always, keep it kayfabe.